Hello, I'm Bruce Zimmerman, and this is the Open Line Garden Show podcast for this week. J.C. Backer & Sons is a wholesale nursery here in St. Catharines. They are a second or third generation business. And just so you do know that at one time I worked for them running their garden center when they still had one. Now, they are a grower that will, of course, ship all over Ontario, Canada, and the U.S. So that means when you're looking at their catalogs and their plant material, you pick a plant that is, 1, hardy to your area, 2, is going to be appropriate for the conditions that you're going to be planting, and you will be very successful. Now, top-grafted standards are what we're going to talk about. And top-grafted standards are usually have a different understock than the top. So anything that develops on the stem, you want to wipe out the buds just as they're developing. Using your hand, you should be able to just wipe out the buds. If there's any suckers from the ground, you want to cut those off as well. And make sure that up near the top, on occasion, where the budding or grafting has occurred, there will be a straight shoot or a shoot that is different. It's the understock that has suddenly produced a bud and is got to be cut out as well. That does not happen very often, but it does happen on, let's say, weeping mulberry and some of the Siberian pea top-grafted ones, okay? Now, today we're going to talk about the hydrangeas. And there's quite a few, and just like there's a lot of hydrangeas out there. But not all really make good top-grafted standards. So they've gone and picked out a few of good quality varieties of hydrangea and have produced good quality top-grafted standards. Now, do you remember the old PG hydrangea standards? You know, with the big cone heads that turned pink in the fall and then eventually bronze and always seem to be a little loose and shaggy? Yeah, they actually still grow it because there's so much demand for it. It's hardy to zone 3, of a height of 6 feet and a spread of 8 feet. Now, it's going to take a little while to get there. But again, a good, strong, vigorous plant. But if I were planting, I would plant instead Pinky Winky, which will give you the same shape of the flowers, you know, that cone-shaped, still be as hardy to zone 3, still be 6 inches high and 8 feet across, but it's got a stronger, more upright stems, it's got a darker pink fall bloom color, and the panicles, or what we call the flowers, are bigger. So it has a lot of good interest in the garden. Or I would go and I would do the first editions one called Vanilla Strawberry, simply because same height, same hardiness, except that the blooms are pure white and then develop throughout the season into a really nice raspberry pink. It is one of the easiest to them to grow, and of course hardy down to minus 20 degrees Celsius. So a good varieties and things and pick. They also have hydrangea, paniculata, limelight. Now this is exactly the same thing as we've talked about the others, all the same care, etc., except that you're getting a lime green flower. Okay, so you have to be able to place this accurately and correctly in your garden. Why? Simply because lime green does not go and shine in the garden like the pinks would. So pick and choose this one, and I'll put it only where it's going to be seen and contrasted against other more colorful plant material. They also do as a top-grafted standard pink diamond, hydrangea, same conditions, zone 3, 6 foot high, 8 feet across, good strong panicles, blooms, in July and August, so it's a little earlier than some of the others. They start open, creamy white, and go into a dark pink burgundy color, and I like that a little better as well. So there's some hydrangeas that, as a standard, you can use as a specimen or a focal point in a garden, whether it's in a front yard, a backyard, near a door, anywhere where you want the eye to be drawn to. Now, they also do some others. They do we'll call it a weeping larix. Now, the large standard larix is Diana contorted, and it's contorted. But as a standard, it's hardy to zone 3, but it's 17 feet high and 3 feet across. Very different. So you want to make sure you've got the space for that. It's, of course, a deciduous evergreen, like all the larches. And they drop that fall needles that are like that golden yellow. And, of course, like the others, there are the purplish cones on larch that point upwards. They also do the varied directions larch standard. Now this one is the one that looks like a strange ghost, like a creeping monster coming through your garden, with arms that go this way and that way and hang down like it's under a green sheet. Still very hardy to zone 3. Height's only 8 feet, but it's going to have a spread of 12 feet. And it is a very unusual plant. The branches may go out perpendicular to the ground or parallel to the ground and then drop down towards the ground. So it's sort of a weeping shape. But it means it has arms out in all directions. And that's how it gets to the 12 feet. Of course, the green and the golden fall color. Very unusual plant. Has to be placed accurately. Has to be able to be given a lot of room and time. And this is a specimen that everybody will come and admire and look at driving by. People will stop and go, okay, that's scary. It almost looks like a plant you would have in your yard just for Halloween, because it's so sort of weird and scary. That's the varied directions larch standard. Now they have the weeping larch standard, which is the typical one. It's even hardier than the others. It's hardy to zone 2. Height 6 foot, spread 6 foot. Weeps, and it drops its needles in the fall. It's grafted on a 4-foot stem, and it is your typical weeping form. So, much more subdued, much more expected, less startling than the other two. So, your choice of what suits your garden, your style, and what you'd look for in a plant for your spot in the garden. I'm Bruce Zimmerman. This is the Open Line Garden Show podcast for this week.